Hey, welcome everybody to another week of Creators Boardroom. Hey guys, nice to see you. If you guys can help out with, turning on your cameras. I know Kenny, thank you for that. So thank you guys for joining us. Does anybody want to share any wins that they've had since the last week? We're going to be picking up on where we left off last week, which is kind of, talking about how to land these big accounts, these influencers, these corporate accounts, and kind of go through the process that I've, personally have done it and what we're currently still doing. So I wanted to pick it up from last week. But does anybody want to share any wins that they've had? Doesn't have to be huge. Anything will do. I know John just turned off his camera. I was gonna call on John right now. Do we have any volunteers? Chris, I'm gonna put you on the spot since we're practically making eye contact, you and me. Is there anything you want to share, a win that you've had since last week?
Hi.
So I've actually been out of town for the last 3 weeks. So I got zero for wins other than I was able to show up today.
Nice. Where were you at?
Hawaii.
Nice.
That's
It was beautiful.
that's a big win right there. Were you able to take a vacation? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always good. Being in the industry and working it and grinding it out. It's always good to be able to take some R&R and get to relax and did you get a chance to miss coming back, miss what you were doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually in between. I just sold my old direct to garment and I have free jet coming.
Oh,
So it isn't here yet, but I also bought a white toner printer. So I'm training on that tomorrow. So I'm kind of in a lull anyway, but there's always plenty of catch up when you've been gone for a while just in life.
no, definitely. Well, thank you for sharing. Super excited for you. We're here to help. If you want to chime in for anything. Alma, Benny, you guys want to share anything? Any big wins that you've had?
I want to say thank you to Ron for referring the print and cut. I guess he would be your friend. I'm not sure, but they're amazing. I did get the contract after much debate for the sublimation hoodies, and I just finished up my last order of baseball hoodies, and then now I was on to glitter for the spirit wear for Rigetti. So
Nice.
and I'm still struggling letting go of control because now I'm working with partners. And so we'll just, fingers crossed everything goes okay. And this following this next week, I will be receiving stuff from different partners that I've been outsourcing now too. Hopefully everything comes back okay because it's really hard for me to let go of the control of not being able to do the quality checking and things like that. So I'm just putting my trust out there and hopefully everything comes out okay. But I'm excited because there's no way that I would have been able to do the volume that I've done mid February to mid March. Like there's just absolutely no way I could have just done all that by myself. And so putting my trust in Edgar and all the support that he gives us in our team right now, our mastermind team. Um, uh, thank you for everybody because yeah, there's absolutely no way that I would have thought myself in November, December when I was thinking of quitting that I would be where I'm at right now.
Thank you for sharing. You've definitely been making a lot of big progress, and letting go is, super important. It doesn't have to be where, you're it's kind of like, you're good when you have your quality control and you have, it's always good to have that quality. And the most important thing is building the trust, with your vendors that you're going to be using for your, and thank you, Ron, for referring that vendor to Alma. So you did it. Was it all over sublimation, Alma? Is that what you ended up doing for that customer?
It's actually all over sublimation, but it's a cut and sew all over sublimation. So what they do is they have all the pieces of polyester printed on, and then they cut it and sew it all together, and then produce the hoodie.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, a lot of logistics to make that happen. So I'm super excited that you had an opportunity to do that. Those are always fun projects. I think you took a gamble because you did it on the customer first time on the customer's order, right?
Well, I've done sublimation before, so I know the process. I just don't do those large ones because I don't have a serger to put it together. I don't have, sorry, I don't have a serger to put it together. I don't have the press that you need large enough to be able to press all at once. I don't have the rolls and the polyester and the cutout. I mean, it's a process, which I know how to do sublimation small scale, but not like seams like that where it's all over.
No, what I meant is that you took a gamble on the vendor, right?
Because
And the only reason I did
Uh-huh.
was because Ron referred him to me.
Oh,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
we had
I wouldn't have done
conversation.
it. I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't his referral.
I forgot about that.
I learned something first.
Ron certified. That's always good to refer each other, different vendors, because I know, you guys that join us, we're like a tight knit group. So, you definitely wouldn't want to refer somebody that, has done you wrong or it's not, the best quality. So thank you, Ron, for that. But I wanted to get ahead and, where we picked up last time, I was talking about, how do you, and before I jump in, I just wanted to go back to Con Graphics, that super big accomplishment, I tend to ADD, a little bit. So big accomplishment, getting a new machine. It can be exciting. It can be, nerve wracking, testing it out. That's why I always recommend, test, before don't test on a customer's order. I've had large projects in the past where I've actually tested on customer orders after I had done, some basic, I felt confident that I was going to make it happen. But I always like to say, test new stuff out, so if you're accustomed to outsourcing embroidery, now that you're bringing it in-house, you want to make sure that you keep that same quality to your customers, because you don't want them to know the difference. If anything, if you can up the quality even better. So definitely, shout out to Con Graphics for putting out that information. Mauricio, who is Con Graphics? Is that Juan Sierra? Juan, thank you for joining us. So last week, what I was talking about is, how to get these influencers customers. Like, we have different influencers that are in the fitness. One of them that, I was talking about last week, his name is, the individual that works with us, his name is Josh. Some of you guys might recognize him. Some of us confuse us. They think we're twins. He's been in the Muscle Fitness magazines and stuff like that. So we tend to not be around each other because they tend to mix us up, right? So he's one of our Omni reps that deals with the influencers, and the way that he finds these types of customers is through networking. He's always on Instagram, LinkedIn. From a show of hands, how many of you got, one of the ones that I've been hitting hardest lately is LinkedIn. From a show of hands, how many of you guys are kind of like on social media, building your audience, reaching out to people? Alma, nice. You want to share a little bit, Alma, of what you do?
What I do on social media, I used to be able to record, like I used to record while I was working and post it. And for some reason, I find it easier for myself and not stress myself out is to just post the stuff that I've made and with captions. And then a lot of the customers they get sponsored for hoodies and jerseys and things like that. So I tag the sponsor, which is usually like real estate or those kind of people. And that has gotten me a lot more followers. On LinkedIn, I have my personal page and then I also have my business page. But in order to be able to have your business page, you have to have like followers, or you have to have people I mean, I guess it's like more like a trust thing because they won't let you open up a business page unless you have following on LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
I have a business page for my social media and I also have my own personal page. And when I first started out, it was because I would post everything on my personal page. But then as I started growing and getting orders, I don't know everybody. And, on my personal page, I post my family. So I opened up a business page, which the business page gives you a lot more ability to link. Like you can link your Shopify where you can order straight off of Instagram. You can post your product on Instagram and then they can order straight through there. So there's stuff that that I've had, like my tumblers that I already have made. I'll post them on there, and then they can order from there to my through my site. So they don't even have to, like, I don't even have to send them an invoice or, oh, this is what it looks like. They automatically just
Mhm.
order through there. And
That,
the thing with
that's
Etsy.
good, Alma.
So those are pretty much, I just post the stuff that I've made or some ideas that I've had. I don't post everything that I make. It's just kind of like a luck of the draw, whichever ones I decide to
Mhm.
put up there. And like, for example, I made this one that's called Baseball Mom, and it had on the sleeves like the baseball with the heart and the names of the children. And it's because I have a lot of moms that have 3 or 4 kids in the same sport, but it's kind of weird to put the numbers on the back. So they're it's really popular right now where they put the names and stuff on the sleeves. And just from posting one, I got 6 more orders off of just that one.
That's really good. I guess in all the conversation we've had, we haven't gone to the social media part of it. So you're pretty advanced with the stuff that you're doing. You know, it's really impressive all the stuff that you're doing. And just out of curiosity, for the sleeve stuff, how are you decorating that? Is that like embroidery, direct to film?
For that, it's direct to film. Because
Oh,
my heat press has all the different platens. I have the from the smallest, which is the 3 by 3 or 4 by, no, it's 3 by 3, to the largest, which is the 16 by 20. So I have all the different interchangeable platens. So I just use my one heat press for all the different decorating techniques. And
Okay.
then on the hats, another really simple and popular thing that I've been doing is putting the numbers on the hats. And that's through embroidery and just using the fonts that are on my embroidery machine.
okay, that's really good. And Mauricio, how often should somebody be because there's, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing as over posting, or how often should somebody be posting in your experience? He said as much as possible. He's a little camera shy this week. He just said as much as possible. Mauricio, he always keeps it to 2 words. Mystery man. Chris, I saw that you were like right like a millisecond behind Alma and you're raising your hand. Do you want to share some of the stuff that you do?
So I'm just getting back to social media. I kind of took a hiatus, but my daughter also has a business and I produce for her. She has a online boutique and she uses her stories a lot and gets a lot of traffic from the videos rather than posting still shots. And I think that people tend to react to give you more engagement when they get to know you as a person. So it's as much about the product that you're creating. It's also about who you are. They want to do business with you because they like you and all your weird quirkiness. And, when you kind of give them a glimpse of the process. So that's kind of what I'm intending to do once I kind of get things up and running again, is to start doing just little stories and videos about kind of what is the process? How does this happen? Like, why is it interesting to me? Even as simple as I test wash my shirts. So, like, literally just putting a little like fast forward video of like wash number 1, wash number 2, wash number 3. Look at how great it still looks, and it gives them that picture of durability and also that you care about your product and kind of like gives them that little extra personal connection. And so that's something that I'm going to be working toward in terms of, rather than flat lays, which are also good. I just think that from what I'm seeing and actually watching her and kind of how those things can take off, the videos are a really good way to go.
Definitely. What type of boutique is it? Is it
It's called Valley Cactus. It's strictly online. It's kind of a like bohemian Western vibe, women's clothing and accessories. So I'm doing all her print work and like tumblers, and like she does earrings and clips and things like that as well. And so I've kind of become a manufacturer by default just because I can't help myself and I'm her mother and I want to help her succeed. But what's nice is she has a very specific aesthetic and vibe. So what I do on my own doesn't really compete with her market because, she's very specific in her look. So works out.
Yeah, that's always good to have, family business. And the good thing is that you guys have your own little, separate businesses going on, right?
But supporting all the same.
Yeah, but supporting each other. That's really good. You know, so that's a good strategy. Videos. I know, when I was talking to Alma as well, she had mentioned about videos, and then maybe it's just a matter of figuring, like Mauricio, you make our videos. What's the most efficient way to try to make videos? Is it just having like a camera time lapsing what you're doing, or just capturing and then when you have time edit? Like, what would be the best strategy, Mao? Both work again. Nice. Yeah, so what he said is that both work, so it's always good to have your content, have more content than not, and then you can always edit it because one of the biggest things that I've been seeing a lot is I especially TikTok is all these people doing printing, and I keep on hammering that the past couple of weeks that we've been talking is how to get to those 1,000. I think if I'm not mistaken, Benny, it's 1,000 followers, right, to be able to go live. I think that's the magic number we're trying to get you to, 1,000.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I don't know if you need a specific number to go live, because I think I could go live now. It's just having content.
Okay. Mau, this might be a Mauricio question. How many followers do you need to go live on TikTok? All right, he's gonna Google it. But yeah, I've been seeing a lot of people literally they just have a camera off their shop as they're, I'm not sure how many of you guys have seen this on TikTok, but literally as they're working, they're just live streaming. And I wish that was a thing when I was, in my, I like to call it my sweatshop, because I would have definitely been capturing a lot of the stuff that I was doing. And, only somebody, oh yeah, it's 1,000 followers required to go live on TikTok. And then, we were talking about it, I think it was like a week or 2 weeks ago that you can actually, I forgot, no, it was actually my sister-in-law said that you can actually purchase followers, which is like, I didn't even know that you could do that in TikTok unless I'm mistaken. But yeah, that would be a good goal to have, to get to 1,000 followers. I'm actually, working with Benny and Alma and Mr. Reynald. We've been talking about how to scale and grow your business, and I'm gonna actually, make it a personal goal. I'm gonna set up a TikTok strictly for personal / business. I'm gonna see, if I can get to 1,000 followers with no help of Mauricio, because then it wouldn't be a fair fight for you guys. So I'm gonna do it by myself, and then hopefully one of these days we can go live on TikTok while we're doing the creators, boardroom. But thank you for sharing. I'm not sure if any Mr. Reynald.
One thing I wanted to say was, like me, I used to be in the music industry. I got a lot of friends that's viral and that are influencers, to where if I use them, I could probably get a bunch of streams, go viral on this and that. But if my business is not set up for that, I don't want to waste the shot. So what I'm saying is, as business people, if you spend a bunch of time making videos and doing this and that, then you got a website and you start getting all these orders. If you can't handle it, if you're not ready for it, you can mess up your whole reputation by not being ready for it. So me, I got this one printer. I just finally got it going good. I've been dealing with y'all for 9 months now, I think, since I bought my printer, 6 months. So I have the opportunity to do TikToks and maybe get more business. But I got enough business now, just keep me overwhelmed to where you might not want to do all that. You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out there. Be careful in asking for too much work. Because if you're not ready and they know your domain name or they know who you are as a person, and somebody says, oh, I need 1,000 shirts, and you can't do it. And then somebody else says, oh, I need 200 shirts, and you can't do it. And before you know it, you got a bad name. Make sure you're set up properly before you get to asking for it. Because you can go viral. You can do some good videos like the lady was just saying. And then all of a sudden, you're starting to get all these orders because you put this nice design up here, but you're not even ready to fulfill it. That could be a bad thing too.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Definitely, you want to make sure that you have your bases covered, right? So when we're talking about, promoting your work, the assumption is that you already have, kind of like Alma was sharing how she has her, outsource partners, ready to, you get 1,000-piece order, and the most you've done in one day is, 60, right? You want to make sure that you have a partner that you can trust, that you're going to be able to outsource that stuff to. So thank you for sharing that. Super important to make sure that, You know, it's like I've shared in the past couple of weeks, you know, the quote that I like the most, I'd rather be ready for an opportunity I don't have than to have an opportunity I'm not ready for. You know, so I remember when times were slower on my fulfillment side, you know, that's when I made sure, you know, my relationships are good. You know, I maybe I did some test orders with vendors that were on my back burner. You know, so it's always, you want to make sure that your bases are covered. Yeah, so make sure you guys are definitely ready, and you know that's, you know, building your network, being able to outsource to one another. We definitely can help you out with fulfillment, especially if you guys are on the West Coast. You know, when it comes to like screen printing, embroidery, you know, direct to film, direct to garment, you know, we definitely have a lot of resources to help you guys out. I'm personally working on building out, you know, East Coast resources. I know, you know, we're gonna have Mr. Powers moving out to the East Coast, Mr. Benny, you know, he's in the East Coast. They're gonna be neighbors. So, you know, being ready is super important, because going back to, you know, what I was, you know, talking about is, you know, if you're trying to land an influencer, right? Somebody that, you know, is going to bring you business, if you're not fully set up to handle them, it's like, you know, Ronaldo was saying, you're going to burn yourself, right? So, you know, one of the things that we have, you know, part of our, you know, SOP that we actually follow is, you know, from when a lead comes in, and then it has on here, merch executive qualifies a lead. So, you know, a lead comes in, number of followers, do they have a website? Do they, you know, do they don't? Are they on Shopify? You know, what's their monthly revenue? And I'm going to use one that we use that I've shared with you guys. It's PR Lifestyle. That specific influencer, Larry Wheels, I think he has a couple million, like within all his social media, I think he has maybe 4 to 5 million followers, you know, something like that. So he sells a lot of merchandise through Shopify, and we do fulfillment for his print on demand. And you know, one of the things that Josh did, who's our Omni, you know, influencer rep, he qualified them. You know, what industry is he in? This one turns out he's in fitness, because, you know, Josh, he's had other people that had, you know, one of the ones that you know, it's still in our pipeline. You know, she has, I think, like 20 something million followers on Instagram, something crazy like that. And it's, you know, because these people, they get hit up all the time, right? So it's super important that, you know, you have that presence out there, because you don't want to just be trying to go after these wells, but you're going to be ignored if you don't have, you know, basic stuff set up. Like, you know, Ronaldo was saying, is like, if online, your online presence doesn't look like they can trust you, then for the most part, you know, they're just going to be overseeing that kind of stuff. The next thing that I have even on here, you know, appointment and schedule. And I'm going to go through one. I literally had, you know, like 5 or 6 appointments towards the end of last year. And one of our minimums, and this is kind of being a little snobby, right? One of our minimums is a million followers to be part of our program. So I think the lowest that we got was like 3 million, something like that, to meet, you know, to put a different program together. And definitely, while I'm talking, you guys want to chime in, ask any questions, feel free to do that. But like our pre-meeting process, right? We want to get details about the customers, you know, especially this is where you want to investigate, because, you know, like I said, these customers, they're used to working with different agencies, they're used to working with different companies. So they're used to people doing their homework and being super prepared, right? So, you know, before we met with someone, we already had a ton of research on this. I'm going to use Larry as an example. You know, I watched a lot of his videos. I saw his website. I saw the merch that he was doing. So I collected as much information as I could from Josh to get prepared, right? Because you have to do a lot of upfront work when you're trying to land an influencer. You know, like an example for us, you know, the types of apparel that they do, you know, like for fitness, it was, you know, do they, you know, t-shirts, shorts, tank tops, hoodies, you know, especially now with direct to film, like from when we started with the influencers to where we're at now, you know, DTF has definitely been a game changer for us, especially in the fitness arena, when you're dealing with a lot of, you know, fitness apparel that you traditionally wouldn't be able to do direct to garment with. So, you know, tote bags, hats, and also, get the current pricing. Pricing is important because, as an example, for Larry, they would buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of merchandise up front, warehouse it, and then, as orders are coming in, they had a 3PL, which is like a third party logistics company that, just imagine it's like having your Amazon, right? You order a bunch of goods, you ship it to them, and every time an order comes in, they're the ones that are, picking it, packing it, and shipping it out. So I saw their website and I'm like, okay, they have $10 shirts. So I'm like, okay, if we're gonna be doing print on demand, there's no way we're gonna be doing no $10 shirts. So that's part of the details and the data that I already had up front. So when we did meet with Larry, it was like, okay, hey, I see on your website that for the most part your apparel, you're like $10 to $15. We're gonna be doing print on demand. We're definitely gonna have to be at the 25 minimum dollar range, because obviously we're gonna have our fulfillment cost to print and ship for you. So that's kind of versus having a meeting. Like, let's say you're able to somehow get a meeting with this influencer. You have a meeting and you're not prepared, you don't know the only thing you know about them is that they have a lot of followers, and they say, hey, I'm trying to sell some shirts, can you do it for me? He's like, yeah. And then before you know it, they want to sell $8 shirts. Like, one of the things that I was watching on TikTok, which was like, I couldn't believe it, because on TikTok, when you see like stuff that especially like shirts and hoodies and stuff like that people are selling, it'll actually say the quantity sold. And then there's this hoodie that's been trending. I forgot what it says on the front, but in the back, it's something like, hey, this is from the person in front of you, the world's a better place. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it like that, but on TikTok, it's like 250,000 plus units sold for that specific hoodie. And I just start doing the math. I'm like, 250,000 times however they're selling it. And, lo and behold, they're selling it for like, it's, I don't know how they're doing it. They're probably importing it by containers, but like, $6, $5 for a hoodie, right? So that's crazy. And then the cool thing with TikTok right now, if you guys are able to sell stuff on TikTok, correct me if I'm wrong, Mao, but right now they're doing a lot of, discounts, a lot of promos, free shipping, different things like that. So I think right now TikTok, if I had to guess, they're probably losing money just to build out their, their store presence. And one of the individuals that we had, a couple of weeks ago, Jose, with the Shopify store, we were having a side conversation in regards to TikTok, how the way that they're building out their e-commerce platform is literally they're going after Shopify, so then they can just bypass Shopify and just have all your products, straight on TikTok. So I kind of did like a little, circle. And what I was getting at is, understanding what it is that your customer is already doing, maybe trying to gauge, what they've done in the past. So then that way, when you do have a meeting with them, you can be like, hey, Larry, I see for the most part, on your e-commerce, you're targeting a $10, t-shirt. I see that it's like a one color, screen print hit. The cool thing about direct, print on demand, when we were talking about it, it was direct to garment. Like, the cool thing about direct to garment is that it can be full color, because I don't want to do print on demand with a one color, hit that, it's not really going to set you apart from, because if you go to his Shopify and his website, he has a bunch of merchandise on there, and everything is like one color, two color screen printed. And then the stuff that we're doing for him, it's full color, like, weightlifting related stuff. And even with that, we actually, prior to the meeting, and let me see, Mao, do we have any messages or anything? Nothing yet. I'm just staring at Victor Rubio's, his picture that he has on there, all happy go lucky. Victor's going live. Nice to see you, Victor.
Sorry I'm late. Had some other stuff going.
No,
Better late than never. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for this every week.
Any wins? Anything you want to share to the team?
Oh man, I didn't mean to interrupt everybody.
No.
I wanna for you guys to participate and to join, because it's like this is like a therapy session for me. I can just ramble and get my money's worth.
You want to start over?
Yeah, let's do it.
No, my only win is I got my taxes done. So business and personal are done. And I'm happy about that. And I was scared for a little bit, but I got it figured out.
No, that's really good. Taxes is a big one. I'm gonna ADD and talk about taxes for a little bit. I remember, one time I had to do my corporate taxes, and then my cousin, who he has a larger company, he's in pharmaceutical research. I asked him, he's like, hey, who do you use for your taxes? He like referred me to this company that he uses, super expensive. I think it was like $1,500 just per year, and I had to file 2 years worth of taxes, and then I ended up filing. It was 3 grand, and then I ended up owing $20,000, and I was like, oh damn, how am I gonna get out of this one, right? And I remember I had a conversation with other Victor, my brother Victor, and I'm like, hey, I just filed my taxes. I'm gonna burn my cousin Tony. I went with Tony. He told me to go, and Victor was like, well, do you have 20 grand to pay Uncle Sam? I'm like, well, not really. And then he's like, well, if you don't have it, then technically, it doesn't make sense that you owe it. Long story short, I learned a hard lesson that the most expensive one maybe is not the best, because that one was like a huge corporate accountant. You just give them your info, they just like process it. And then I ended up finding, maybe I might have shared this before. I ended up finding somebody on Yelp. This guy worked out of his house. He was a CPA, and he was like, yeah, I used to work for a large corporation. I didn't like the way that they would treat most of the customers. They weren't really hands-on. So long story short, well, I had to repay this guy to do it, but instead of $1,500, it was $600 a year. So it was like I paid 3 grand plus another $1,200. So I paid, $4,200. But with this other guy, his name was, Kim. What he was able to do is that he was able to undo the mess that the previous accounting company did, wipe out the 20K, and I actually ended up having $100,000 reserves for future taxes, right? Because he was all like, hey, well, all these printers, all this equipment, all this stuff that you've built out, where did that come from? I'm like, well, technically, I invested it, I put the money in. So he's all like, okay, so technically you loaned the company money, and then this and that. So long story short, like I went from like not being able to sleep, and especially telling my wife, hey, by the way, we owe 20 grand to the IRS. She's like, what do you mean we owe 20 grand? So going from there to like solving it to then, having $100,000 balance. And what I mean by that is like the next year that you file, if you owe money, they're just pulling from that 100K reserves that you have. So that one, thank you for sharing that, Victor. You just brought back some. That's one of the more stressful things to deal with is taxes. If you don't have it, lined up. So thank you for sharing. I'm not sure if you want to add any more to that, Victor. If you.
Well, I had a in income, I had a $115,000 swing in my favor because I was going through the data and I'm like, this isn't right, this isn't right. And when I looked at QuickBooks, it was putting the same transactions in two different reports, and they were adding that together as my income, which looked really good in the beginning, but I'm like, I don't know this or whatever. So we figured that out. I did move from a tax accountant that I was paying a lot less for to a more robust corporate account. So I do pay him $3,500 a year. That's for my personal and my business, but I have unlimited consultations with him. So I don't pay more than that. And he does everything and files it. He helped me buy the house last year. So I made that move, and then I moved to like a financial manager with Morgan Stanley, like someone that's high up there. So I'm trying to do things like white people and do things right. And so it's been helpful. And so I'm really excited about those two moves. Yes, it does cost me more, but I am making more, and so I need to figure out how to do this. And so, these are good problems to have, and I wish it on everybody so that you guys can continue growing your business, and don't be afraid of the hurdles and the taxes and the stuff like that. Just, find somebody you trust, speak with them often, especially come October, November. Keep your books up to date, and he'll let you know, or she'll let you know, like, look, you're going to end up owing X amount. This is how you can offset it with the rest of the year. And so lean on those people, because I grew up in a Mexican family where they never talked about money. My parents didn't save any money. They just, and it's just like, and to get myself out of that loop, it took a while. And so, yeah, just, break that cycle, and lean on the people that know what they're doing, and the people that are doing well. So I know the internet can be a huge source, but go to a professional, and it does pay off. So highly recommend that.
Thank you for sharing that. That's super important. Reynold, you have your hand up? Reynold? I'm sorry if I'm killing your name.
I just wanted to add to that. That's Victor. Good letting us know. But I was watching a video, or I don't know if it was you guys that told me, but now I think I was watching something. And the one thing about your taxes, if you don't file them and they start getting at you and auditing you and all that, it's 0.5%. No, it's 5%. They'll charge you 5% a month on whatever you owe. But if you file your taxes, and then maybe you have to maybe it's not right or it's this, but at least you filed it, it's only like 0.005%. So it's a big ass difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether not filing them at all and thinking you can, I'll just do this later. It's better to at least file something than to not file nothing at all. That's my point.
Thank you for sharing.
Which everybody here might know that already. I mean, we grown people, but maybe not.
Thank you for sharing that. Taxes can be, a nightmare if you're not prepared. So, it doesn't matter what size you're at. I'm not sure how many of you guys are familiar with, Jim Rohn, very old school motivational speaker. He would always say, be disciplined when the amounts are small, right? So he's all like, especially like his big thing was, donating 10%. So he's all like, if you're not able to donate, 10 cents out of $1, right? What makes you think that once you get $1 million, you're gonna donate 100,000, right? So his whole thing was be disciplined when the amounts are small. So it would always stick with me. I'm like, okay, but then once you actually start applying it, it definitely makes a difference, especially like, like I can relate to Victor, growing up, I have maybe according to my therapist, I have some built up resentment towards my parents for not teaching me the right way. My dad, he was actually a business owner, but and he's an engineer, and he would take us to the construction sites, and me and my two older brothers, we would be his little construction workers, right? But it's never like he sat us down. He's like, "Hey, you guys, here I'm gonna pay you guys $100. Here's for taxes. Here's for investing. Here's for this." So we didn't get any of that. We just got, we just learned how to grind it out. But it's kind of like I like what Victor was saying. To break the cycle and to do things right. So definitely some of you guys that are solopreneurs, ninjapreneurs, definitely look into because one of the biggest things, like for myself, that I didn't properly do was sales tax. You have to file it. If I'm not mistaken, you have to do it like quarterly, something like that in your area. And especially once you're doing wholesale, right? If you don't get a reseller's license from whoever you're doing business with, technically you have to collect the sales tax, because then you have to be, being on top of that. So I remember I used to do a lot of wholesale printing, and people would be like, "Hey, why are you charging me tax?" I'd be like, "All right, yeah, you're wholesale," and I would never get the reseller. So that was in the beginning days, and then I remember I met this husband and wife team, huge production. They had like, I think I've shared it. They had like maybe 5 or 6 automatics. It's like a huge facility. And he told me one day, he's like, "Yeah, Edgar, like if you don't get that squared away, they came down on us, and they came down on us hard for that. So now you better believe we're getting all the 1099s or the reseller certificates. We're on top of that." So I know we kind of just, veered a little, but, that's super important with taxes because, when it comes to landing, one of the things that, was like landing influencers, landing corporate clients, landing big corporations. You might have some big companies. Let me see where we're at with time. 2:52. You might have these big accounts, big companies that they might want to know how you're doing, financially. Like, if they might look you up to see, they might ask you some personal questions. So if you have everything, squared away, lined up, yeah. So you definitely want to have everything lined up, squared away, because you never know, who's because like one of the biggest things for myself, that literally took me to the next step was landing my first national account. And I was actually a little surprised that I even won it, given that it was just me, my wife. They were looking for this large facility to do a bunch of stuff for them. I think I've shared it in the past. They just on promotional products, they were spending $250,000 just on their yearly budget for promotional products. They were doing like 500 to a million shirts a year. That was for their events, plus their store. So they were doing a lot of stuff. So I never thought I would get a contract like that. And I actually got awarded, half of the contract. And, just because the rep that I met with, they're like, I really like your family environment, your family atmosphere. I can see that you're really organized and you have everything, lined up, and we're gonna give you an opportunity. So that one was a big game changer because it was like doing, small orders, growing, and then you have an order where it's like, hey, here's a $60,000 check. We need some of this. Here's another, $20,000. We need some of that. So then you land some of these accounts where now you're dealing with, 5-6 digits. Those are the type of accounts you want to have, but you're not gonna land them unless, like Victor was talking about, with your taxes and stuff like that, and in case you have everything lined up. And going back to with the time that we have left, 5 minutes. Anybody wanna, selfishly ask anything? If not, I'm just gonna keep on going. So, kind of tying it back, for when we were meeting with Larry, we already had designs, like Alma, she does graphic design, like Benny, he does graphic design. You guys have a leg up of being able to do, designs. So we actually created 4 different designs. No, it was actually 6 different designs for Larry. We created the designs, we printed them on, black and white t-shirts. So when we met with them, we're like, hey, this is what we have. What do you think? He's like, oh, I really like this one. This is crazy. This is hot. No, he didn't say hot. That's old school. He said, this is fire. Hot is old, right? I remember I was doing a presentation at the Long Beach Convention Center, and I gave my age away because I was like, man, that's hot. And they're like, no, you say fire now. So he really liked it. So we ended up using 4 of those designs, and we actually put them on the website, and that's what we started producing. But it's kind of like, you're when you go after this, you have to invest your time, your resources. You might print out some samples. It's similar to one of the things that I learned. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, but these marketing agencies, when they're trying to do let's say if you're trying to do a commercial for let's say McDonald's, right? A lot of these marketing agencies, they'll actually if they're trying to get the business from McDonald's, they'll go out, they'll film a whole production commercial, right? They're investing. They do all this upfront work, all this branding, this and that, and then that's part of what they do to bid for the job. So just imagine, having to do all this stuff at the large scale. This is something similar where you're like, okay, if I'm gonna target my like when I did stuff for like Uber or Facebook, I was dealing with the marketing agencies, right? So like if you're gonna go after these guys, you want to have your samples. One of the things that I had on here is having your portfolio of work that you've done. And we're running out of time, but we'll go more into it next week, right? Because I feel like this is super important, because if you're able as a one-man operation, position yourself to land, the big accounts, that's definitely something that I want to help you guys out with. But it all boils down to what Renell said. It's like you want to make sure that you're ready to handle that, because the big contract that I got that changed, that put fuel on my fire, is because the rep saw that I can handle it, because she was just one of the reps for the big, nonprofit organization. So she wasn't gonna put her reputation, her job on the line with a vendor that she felt wasn't gonna deliver, because you can just imagine they do, I like to call it your $1 million customer. They do, like those are the, growing to the point where you can have $1 million customer, and that's a customer that you're generating millions of dollars annually, off the volume that they do. So they're not gonna just say, yeah, Edgar, nice to meet you. I like you and your wife, but here's a bunch of business. I hope you can take care of it, right? It's more like, they saw, they'll sniff around. It was a whole lengthy process, and she felt really comfortable with what we did, and that's how we're able to land that account. And it's similar to getting your influencers, having the artwork, having a portfolio of the stuff that you do. And we'll touch up next week more in regards to this, but it's also building your online presence, your website, your social media, and it's pretty much what we've been touching up on. Let me see, 259. Wow, this is amazing. Normally Mauricio, he's kicking me off. So, I definitely, we're going to continue it. I'm overly prepared. I feel like, broadcasting, the news. I have everything that I put together, so we'll get through it. And the reason that I'm sticking with it is because I feel like it's going to bring you guys a lot of value. And, I appreciate you guys joining, better late than never, Victor. Appreciate you always, joining in. Chris, nice seeing you. I hope I could have gone to Hawaii with you. I bet you that was relaxing. Welcome to reality, right? Welcome back. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Benny, Alma. We'll be in touch. You guys have a great one. Ron, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. You guys have a great one. Bye. See you next Wednesday. Bye.